Now, the Braves Clubhouse Report.
Glad to have you with us. Another edition of the Braves Clubhouse Report on your home of the Braves, the Fan 680 and 93.7 FM. Kevin McAlpin here with you till the bottom of the hour, getting you up to speed on all things Braves. They go for another sweep tonight in Colorado. Tell you more about another Major League debut coming up here in just a little while. Last night, not exactly your typical Coors Field game. Braves got a 3-1 victory, and they did it behind 6 solid innings from Charlie Morton. Picked up his 14th win of the year, a run on 3 hits with 2 walks and 8 strikeouts. And Marcell Ozuna, who continues to stay hot. We will hear from Marcell coming up here in just a little while. We will also hear from Brian Snitker here in our first segment. A little bit later on, we'll check in with our buddy Mark Bowman. He is out in the Mile High City. We will get a scouting report on what he expects from Darius Vines, who will start this evening for the Braves. And later on, we'll check in with Chuck and Chernoff, get you ready for their program coming up at 2:30. But before we take you inside the clubhouse following last night's game, couple of post-game notes as Charlie Morton pitched really well. And this has been a theme for Charlie here. His last 4 starts, how about this? 1 earned run in his last 24 innings worth of work. He's punched out 33 batters over his last 24 innings. Last night, 8 more strikeouts. Picks up his 14th win of the year. Folks, Charlie Morton all of a sudden with the 10th best ERA in baseball and the 4th best in the National League. Also, those 14 wins tied for the 2nd most in all of Major League Baseball. Of course, his teammates Spencer Strider and Justin Steele both leading the way with the Cubs with 15 wins on the season. Braves will enter action tonight, currently 12.5 games up over Philadelphia, but that will change before they say play ball tonight. The Braves and the Phillies and the Angels are 2-2 in the top of the 4th. That is the series finale from Citizens Bank Park. Philadelphia playing good baseball, but equally as impressive have been the play of the Braves. They just have not been able to really make up any ground on first place here in the division. We'll give you the standings as far as the wild card is concerned coming up here in just a little while. But offensively last night, it was Marcell Ozuna doing it once again. His 30th home run of the season, becomes the 3rd Braves player with 30 or more homers on the year. Joins Matt Olson, who leads the team, and Austin Riley, who did that earlier on the road trip. And how about these numbers from Marcell? He's now hit safely in 24 of his last 25 games and 28 out of 31. Now listen to this. Since August the 4th, Marcell hitting .391, 9 doubles, 8 home runs, 24 RBI, and a 12-12 OPS over his last 25 games played. So it has been quite the month of August for a guy I think a lot of us expected to be named as the National League Player of the Week last week for what he did on the most recent homestand. Didn't happen, but who knows? There could be a National League Player of the Month award in Marcell's not-too-distant future. A couple other notes as far as the Braves before they take the field tonight. Ronald Acuna Jr. looking to become the 4th member of the 30-homer club for the Braves. He's sitting on 29 homers and 61 stolen bases. He accomplished that feat earlier this road trip, and Ronald now one of 4 players in baseball history with 20 or more homers and 60 or more steals in a season. And keep in mind, there's still a month left to go in the regular year. Joins Ricky Henderson. He did it 3 times. Joe Morgan twice, and Eric Davis as the only players in baseball with 20 homers and 60 steals in a season. And a couple of relievers wanted to point out after last night. Pierce Johnson going back to Colorado. How about 14 appearances with the Braves? Just 1 earned run in 14 innings to go along with 19 strikeouts. And Raisel Iglesias very quietly, last 15 appearances, how about just 7 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 22 strikeouts in his last 15 innings worth of work, and opponents are hitting just a $137 against him. So the Braves playing great baseball. Like I said, as they go for the sweep tonight, Atlanta 41 games over 500. They enter 86-45. Again, we mentioned the lead over Philadelphia right now is 12.5. That could change before they say play ball. Marlins are 20.5 games back. Then you've got the Nationals 2 games in front of the last place Mets. Whoever could have seen that coming at the start of the regular season? As far as the wild card is concerned, Philly has distanced themselves from the rest of the pack. They've got a 5-game lead over the Cubs and the Giants, who are currently the 3 wild card teams. You've got Arizona just a half game back, Cincinnati 2 games out, and the Marlins, while they are just a 500 club, only 3 games out of that final wild card spot. So it will certainly be a very entertaining final month of the season. Probably for the Braves, the one thing you keep the closest eye on on his home field advantage, and we know that this weekend that will be front and center as the third leg of this road trip will wrap up with 4 games against the Dodgers. They have been one of the hottest teams in baseball over the last 4 or 5 weeks, so should be a very entertaining postseason feel when these two teams hook up at Dodger Stadium. But again, first things first, Braves and the Rockies series finale coming up later on this evening. It's an 8:40 first pitch. That means Domino and I will have you covered on the Ford Leadoff Show at 7:25 Eastern on the Braves Radio Network. Ben Ingram, Joe Simpson with the call from Coors Field, 8:40 Eastern, 7:40 Central, right here on the Braves Radio Network. Want to take you inside the clubhouse following last night's win. We'll hear from Marcell Ozuna here in just a moment, but wanted to hear from Snit. As we know, the rotation a few weeks ago had a couple of bumps in the road, and you had Charlie Morton and Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder having tough ones, but since then, they have flipped the switch, and they've done it in a hurry. So here was Snit after last night's game, just talking about the rotation and the way things have really come together for his starting 5.
That was good, I knew they would. I mean, I said that when we were going through it. It's like no facet of your game is, insulated from having, those blips or whatever that you got to fight through. And our guys did, and right now they've kind of righted the ship and been really good. So that's awesome.
Really is, and what's even more awesome is knowing that Kyle Wright will be making another start, this time for AAA Gwinnett. They have moved his rehab stint from Rome up to Gwinnett. You figure he's probably going to need 3 to 4 starts and hopefully turn him loose for a couple of regular season starts. And what a lift that could be when you talk about Max Fried and Spencer Strider and the way Charlie's going here right now. If you're able to throw a Kyle Wright in there, maybe it's a Bryce Elder. We'll see what the Braves decide to do. Going to be really tough decisions to make, but certainly great problems to have when you start talking about how this organization will line things up for their rotation in the postseason. All right, a couple of more from Snit because we mentioned Marcell Ozuna joins the 30-homer barrage for the Braves. He's hit safely in 28 out of 31 games, and here was Snit talking about Ozuna's recent success.
What he's been doing and keeping on being so consistent, just day in and day out. I mean, right there in the middle of that lineup, man, it's pretty good because at any point in time, he can get you one on the board real quick.
Well, he really can, and keep in mind that his first 18 games of the season, that was March 30th through the end of the month of April. Marcell, 18 ball games. He was 5 for 59. He had 1 double, 2 home runs. They were each solo shots. He had 2 RBI, 18 strikeouts, 8 walks. He was hitting .085 with a .397 OPS. And you want to talk about a guy who, ever since that day in Miami on May the 2nd, has been a totally different player. Last 97 games for Ozuna, he's hitting .297. He has a .947 OPS in his last 97 games, 18 doubles, 28 home runs, 71 RBI. This guy's going to flirt with like 35 and 100 when all is said and done. It has been remarkable for a guy who a lot of folks didn't think was going to be on the roster come the middle of May. So nice to see the way he has worked hard. He's turned things around. And another guy who's turned things around after a slow start was Michael Harris II. We know how much of a big piece of the offense he was batting 9th last year. Well, he moved up in the order when Ozzie was out, but they slide him back down, and he's been extremely productive. So here was Snit, one more from the skipper, talking about the success of the former Rookie of the Year batting at the bottom of the lineup.
I told him yesterday, it's kind of why I like him there, because he comes up, and when he gets on base like that, we got Ronald coming up with base runners, and I think that's been a big part of our success this year. I think it has been, it's been good for Ronald to hit with guys on, and Michael's on a lot. And I don't foresee him being that down the road, but right now I think it's a really good spot for our club, and he's in position to score a lot of runs.
Really is, and I talked to Michael about that about a month and a half ago, talking about what it means to have a guy like Ronald behind him, and obviously he's going to get a lot more pitches to hit, so he's certainly enjoying, and he's thriving in the bottom of the lineup. And again, not a lot of teams that can say they've got the reigning Rookie of the Year batting 9th and putting up the numbers that Michael Harris II has been here this year. We'll see if that can continue tonight, help the Braves hopefully earn a sweep in the Mile High City. All right, one more from last night, because Marcell Ozuna has certainly been front and center with the Braves offense here over the last month or two, and let's get his thoughts on what it means to go north of 30 on the season.
I feel amazing, I don't have no words to express right now the way that I feel to get that goal. That's a goal for every single player to do in a season. So thanks God, give me the opportunity to be in that hole.
And there is Marcell Ozuna, obviously grateful that the Braves stuck with him, and I'm sure their fans who were at times ready to run him out of town, grateful that the organization did believe in him. Snit kept putting him in the lineup day in and day out, chance to work through his struggles, and everybody has been rewarded for a remarkable season for Ozuna. 30 home runs on the year. He's 7 shy of his career high. He set that as a member of the Miami Marlins back in 2017. Ozuna hit .312 that year, 37 homers, 124 RBI, finished 15th in the MVP voting. He also took home a Gold Glove Award and a Silver Slugger in the process as well. Well, one guy who has certainly taken home a lot of awards is our buddy Mark Bowman. We're going to check in with Bo live from Colorado, and later on we'll tell you more about the series finale. Braves go for another sweep before they head to Los Angeles later on tonight. It's the Braves Clubhouse Report. We'll continue right after this here on The Fan.
The Braves Clubhouse Report.
Braves Clubhouse Report continues. We're with you Wednesdays, 2 to 2:30 here on your home of the Braves. The Fan 680 and 93.7 FM. Kevin McAlpin here with you. Chuck and Chernoff coming up at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, a chance to check in with one of our favorites, our buddy Mark Bowman. He joins us from the Mile High City.
Leroy the boy.
No, is it Stan the Man? Is it Leroy? I don't know you never know who we're going to check in with when we hear from Mark Bowman. Bo, good to hear from you, my friend. How are you today?
That's allegedly me. That's not me. That's not.
You know, people I think they might be catching on. I don't want to say everybody, but I think there's been a lot more questions asked lately. And fortunately, we haven't had to field a lot of those phone calls. But there's been some folks connecting the dots a little bit. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. There are days that I identify as Stan the Man. I'll admit it.
There you go. The truth finally comes out. Well, we know that obviously you have been very busy out in Denver watching this team continue to win ball games. They enter 41 games over 500, and you've covered this team for a couple of decades now, and you've seen some pretty special teams. You've seen some remarkable offenses, but I don't think you've probably ever seen anything quite along the lines of what this team's doing in 2023. What's it just been like from your vantage point? Is seemingly every night watching this team do something that has never happened or hasn't happened in the modern era with this organization?
Yeah, this is definitely the best offense I've ever seen. You know, I've debated it during the summer. You know, you say, okay, was it better than that 1998 offense that Andres Galarraga hit 44 and Javi hit 30? I think Javi, Chipper, and Andrew all hit 30 plus that year. Then you had 2003 and Marcus Giles, you know, along with Chef. Javi, Andrew, Rafael Furcal had a big year. There was some speed there with Rafi, but the difference is this team has just as much power, even more than those teams, and it has the team speed up and down the lineup. You know, you've got this kind of power, and you got two guys who have stolen 20 bases now with Harris and Acuna. Other guys just run the base as well, including, you know, Austin Riley. He's a big man, but he. You know, he can get first and third here and there. It's just that's the one thing that I noticed when we went to Philadelphia in June, and I can't remember exactly how the lineup started. I'm thinking it was probably Schwarber, Harper, Castellanos. Let's just say that. And then all of a sudden there's two singles in the first inning, and it's still first and second. We don't see that. These guys, that's the big difference with this lineup. Yes, it's fueled by power, or, you know, the long ball, let's say that. But at the same time, when there's an ability to get an extra base, there's enough speed up and down that lineup, you know, minus Orlando Arcia. But Wash has to get that memo here soon.
Yeah.
Orlando's a lot of things. Fast is not one of them.
Well, I'll say this. If that's the one thing we're nitpicking is that, you know, Orlando Arcia gets thrown out on the bases every now and then, or every now and then they get caught being a little aggressive. I think we're really reaching for something to find that's a little maybe not as polished as we'd like with this team, right?
Yeah, and the big thing is, we can talk about this offense all day, and the good thing is this rotation has really come around. I believe the ERA since they left Pittsburgh was 2.99. You know, so let's say the first 3 weeks after the All-Star break, we're pretty rough for the rotation. The other thing with the bullpen, you add Pierce Johnson. That has been a great addition. Just adding one more arm there. You're thinking maybe Dylan Lee comes back sometime in September, maybe Jesse Chavez. You got Kyle Wright pitching in Rome tonight. There, you know, you say, okay, where are you going to fit all these guys? I don't know. Maybe but you may not have to fit them until October. We know that Dylan Lee and Tucker Davidson started a World Series game. We know that Max Breed was sick last year on the final day of the year. If they had needed him, I don't know, maybe he would have tried it. But anyhow, you were at Jackson Stevens at that point in time. You never know exactly how much pitching you're going to need. So, we can sit here and say, what are you going to do with Kyle Wright and all this kind of stuff? We may not know. It's just be ready because, there's probably 2 full months of baseball left with this team.
And it is encouraging knowing that Kyle makes another start tonight. He's inching closer. Do you feel like maybe if he can get back, I've said this for the last few weeks, you get him 3 or 4 rehab starts, you build up the pitch count, turn him loose. I mean, does that give him time to make, 3 to 4 starts max up here at this level down the stretch? And I guess then you sort of see where he is and feel like where he, does he fit in as a starter? Is he a long guy in the pen? Do you feel like that's a big enough sample size for a guy like Kyle?
Yeah, and you know what? Those starts could be really big because let's see, what you said just kind of reminded me of, when they used Bryce Elder and, Odorizzi, just the different guys, mainly Bryce Elder last year, the guys they were calling up there at the end of the year. And just, here, make this spot start here, make that spot start here, and just how that helps some of the other guys. Unfortunately, Max got sick, and unfortunately, Strider had the oblique issue, but they were doing anything and everything they could to keep their guys fresh down there. So, just even adding Kyle to that mix would be great for that. And you know what? If Kyle gets to the point where he's at 3 and 4 innings comfortably, bringing him up to be an opener is not a problem. Mm-hmm. For the postseason, we praise what Ian Anderson did during the postseason. Well, some of those were just a little bit more than an opener. I mean, it's all you need, as Snick says, is get yourself off the ground. And if Kyle can get to that point, great. If not, if it's not in September, we'll see. Maybe by the end of October he is who he was at this point last year.
Yeah, no question. That would be a huge lift, no doubt about it. Mark Bowman joins us from the Mile High City. He'll be at Coors Field later on tonight for the Braves and the Rockies. And Bo, I wanted to ask you, because I know it's become sort of a lightning rod topic here over the last week or two about the whole MVP conversation. And I think all summer long we've sat around and said, well, it's Ronald, so no one's going to even challenge him. And then you started talking, well, Freddie Freeman's coming around. He's having a really good year. And then look what Mookie Betts is doing. How do you sort of view this? Because I know you have had a chance to vote on MVPs and other end-of-season awards in the past. How do you sort of view where things are as far as the leaders, or maybe how you would go with it if you had a vote this year when it comes to a guy who's done something that has only happened 4 times in baseball history, with Ronald with 20-plus homers, 60-plus steals? Or do you look at a guy like Betts and like some folks are saying, well, he can play 3 possessions really well. Does that add to his value? I'm sort of curious where you stand on this whole thing.
No, I mean, I have tremendous respect for Mookie Betts. It does. I mean, I remember, first time I heard he's one of those guys that when you're there in a spring training game and you're not completely familiar with the guy and he wows you and, you're going to follow him every step of the way since then. I remember him hitting a ball off the scoreboard there at Disney. And, obviously you have the utmost respect for Freddie Freeman. It's great that Mookie Betts moved to shortstop, but I sit here and see what I can compare their offensive stats, but I sit here every day and I see balls hit the right field and guys not taking that extra base because of Ronald's arm. Is that the only reason he's the MVP? But no, but I see him make such a significant influence in that field. I think that's certainly the tiebreaker over most of them. But at the same time, I don't think, while these guys are putting up great offense numbers, I also don't think they're affecting the game as much as Ronald does whenever he's at the plate and then on the base. The offensive numbers might be similar, and you might say Betts is passing here, and I guess he has OPS and more and this kind of stuff. But I can't sit here and watch Ronald for 162 games and think that anyone has impacted the game more than he has. Well, that's your bias of watching it. Okay, that's fine. We're all going to be treated to the chance to see the 4 MVP candidates here this weekend. This series is going to be awesome. You see Freeman and Betts and Matt Olson and Ronald Acuna. It's going to be, not only is this the battle for home field advantage, which is very important, but at the same time, we're going to get a feel for where the MVP race is going into the final month.
Yeah, no question about it. I just wanted to throw this one out there, too, because you talk about everything that Ronald does. And the first inning numbers, I think, to me, are the most impressive of anything else he's done. First inning alone, he's hitting .395 on the season, 10 doubles, 5 leadoff home runs, 18 stolen bases, 13 walks to 12 strikeouts. He's got a .1068 OPS. I think and again, I know Mookie hits at the top of the order, and it'd be fun to compare those numbers, but I just think when you look at the Braves' success as a whole, when he scores a run in the first inning, it's a game changer for this offense, and it can set the tone with the very first pitch of a game. So for me, I just think that the damage he can do, especially the success he's had early in the game to set the tone, I think that is another thing that I don't think most folks are looking deep enough at when it comes to his numbers.
Yeah, and his presence there, that when he's on base, not only is, getting himself in the scoring position with his feet, but he affects other people's bats after that, because he's in, his presence on the base, I think, helps Michael Harris right now, now Ozzie Albies, and then Austin Riley, and down the line for Matt Olson. I know he didn't have most of his greatest stretch has been since he moved to the 5-hole, but sitting there behind Ronald didn't hurt him there for a few months either. So I think he just makes such an impact there at the top of the lineup, and in the first inning, the value he's had. I mean, it's incredible. He was starting to set the first inning records, maybe a week or so ago. I know he passed Chipper and Marquise Grissom. Most hits and breaks. They had too much left, and runs and all this kind of stuff. It's all. I've never seen anybody make this kind of impact in the first inning that Ronald has this year.
It's been amazing to watch. Hey, Bo, before we let you go, another major league debut tonight. We'll see Darius Vines on the mound, 25-year-old right-hander, and this is a guy that was originally a 7th-round pick back in 2019. I'm sure he's a guy you had a chance to lay eyes on the last few spring trainings. What have you seen, if anything stands out to you? What are you looking forward to seeing from him on the mound tonight?
Yeah, it's nothing like just stands out like in one certain pitch, but he's a guy who just has continued to improve. He's the kind of kid you really root for just because you enjoy talking to him. He's got a great personality, and he's one of those guys. He can give it to Michael Harris. That's fun to see him, have a be around it to go ahead and hear them go back and forth. But in terms of what do I expect, I think. When Bryce Elder pitched the other night, I was thinking we sit here and talk about what's it take to be successful at Coors Field. You know what? More than anything, it's great to have the curveball that Charlie had last night and the changeup that Bryce had. But more than anything, you just have to have mental resolve and realize, hey, look, I'm not getting through this thing cleanly. There's going to be some strife along the way, and I think that Darius has that mental ability to move on. Like I said, he's an easy guy to root for. Whatever happens tonight, great. I look forward to. I'm glad he's healthy, and I look forward to him being a piece that the Braves can look to. Maybe be in that rotation next year or whatever. But he's certainly a guy to keep an eye on for many years to come.
Fun to get another look at the future. We'll see that tonight with Darius Vines. He'll take on Kyle Freeland, 5-13, leads the National League with 13 losses and a 5 ERA. Bo, always appreciate the conversation. Thanks as always for joining us, and we'll see you guys when you get back from the trip.
Sounds good, buddy. Take care.
There's Mark Bowman. You can read him on MLB.com and Braves.com as well. When we return, we'll check in with Matt Chernoff, and we'll turn you over to Chuck and Chernoff. Braves Clubhouse Report's back after this right here on The Fan.
This is the Braves Clubhouse Report.
Big thanks to Mark Bowman joining us from the Mile High City. It'll be the Braves and Rockies. Final time these two teams will hook up this season. Atlanta looking to go a perfect 7-0 against Colorado. They have had the Rockies number. Braves 86-45 in command of the National League East. And good news from Philadelphia. Angels have taken a 3-2 lead over the Phillies that game in the 5th inning. Let's see if that score holds.
Losers in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Hello, Matthew.
What a bunch of wild card losers. Oh, hey, KMac.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm great. I'm watching the best team in baseball every night. I said to Bowman, I think we're really trying to find things to nitpick on.
Always.
When the biggest issue is, well, Orlando Arcia is not the greatest base runner with this team.
I mean, listen, the base running is going to bother people, but they only get bothered when the result doesn't work out. There was a play 2 weeks ago maybe where I remember tweeting, horrible send by Wash. The guy would have been out by 3 feet, but the catcher dropped the ball. They're going to play a style that borders on reckless at times, but it's aggressive in their mind to make you make the perfect throw and to make you make the catch. And sometimes it's going to happen, but I bet more than not, if somebody had the time to dig in, KMac on the close calls, I bet the Braves have a great percentage working on those aggressive opportunities to score.
Well, I've always been a big believer. Look, make them make the perfect throw. Sometimes it takes 2 cutoff men to make the perfect throw, and you know what? Sometimes they're going to get you. You tip your cap, but I think when you have this offense, now that Ozzy's healthy, with Ronald, heck, throw Harris in there as well, with Harris, Acuna, and Albies, think about what this team can do and how they can catch you off guard for a potential postseason series.
So I think 2 things also happen. When teams know you're going to be aggressive, sometimes you're going to make a mistake in the outfield going after a ball. We've seen that a lot this year, where we've seen an outfielder go to pick up a routine base hit, and he bobbles it because he knows they're not going to put a stop sign up on many guys, and if they do, they're going to run through it.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, speaking of running, did you see the video? I threw this out there last night. The Braves social media team does such a great job of highlighting all the great things, and they put 60 seconds worth of 60 steals from Ronald. I counted, it was very quick, and I did it a few times. I counted 16 of 60 without a throw.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just that's how ridiculous he's been on the bases.
So
this
it also
year.
gets to the point where he's taken third, literally taken third without the pitcher even paying attention, and he's on third base or 3/4 of the way before the pitch is thrown, and the third baseman's in the shift, and he just takes it. I think you've seen a couple of things from Ronald. It's not just the sheer talent, which he's always had. I think he's understanding more of the nuances. He's looking around, paying attention, seeing some things where he can take advantage on the margins, and when you're of that kind of talent and you can take advantage on the margins, you hit 340, and that's what he's doing.
Really has been a special season. And of course, I know this last month's going to be fun to debate where things are in the NL MVP. You heard Bowman, he's had votes in these things before. He still feels like it's Ronald's MVP. But, I got a funny feeling that starting tomorrow night when the Braves are in LA, I don't know if I'm just calling it now, but I think Ronald's just going to show out in Hollywood this weekend.
That'd be fun. He's never been a guy that shied away from the stage or the big moment. You saw that in his first playoff series against the Dodgers. No, that would not shock me at all. At the same time, it's the beginning of September against the Dodgers, and it sort of matters because home field's a thing. We've all seen so many big series they played in. They played in so many. I don't get the sense that they're going to be over anxious for a September series at Chavez Ravine.
Yeah,
I do like that they set the pitching up, though. I think that's kind of fun.
And I think it's fun for all of us, right, to look ahead and talk about how big of a series it is. And I had somebody ask me, well, what if they lose 3 out of 4? I said, well, they lost 3 out of 4 in a regular season series. Like, it is what it is, right?
My gut is that these 2 teams are so good that the split will eventually happen some way or somehow. But like if they win 3 or 4, let's do it the other way. So what? I mean, what is that going to change? Yeah.
Gets you a game.
Get you a game up in the home field chase. And again, I'm not saying home field. I'd like them to be able to start at home against the Dodgers if they play them in the CS, and I'd love Game 7 at home. Don't get me wrong. I don't know that it matters all that much when it's all said and done.
Well, look at that Nationals-Astros World Series a few years ago. The home team lost every game. Visitors won every one.
Do the Braves World Series. Braves went in Game 1 to Houston, Game 6 in Houston. It's nice, but I don't think it's going to be the differentiating factor in winning it.
Yeah, it's not the end-all, be-all like it is maybe in a sport like football. Right. What's coming up on the big program this afternoon?
Oh, man, we got a lot of stuff, KMac.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you later.
All right. I mean, a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. Okay.
I don't have time to get into it now because if I did, it would take up the rest of a lot of stuff. You can't miss today's show or else you might die.
All right. That means I'm going to leave because I don't want to die. Chuck and Chernoff are next. Thanks to Bowman. We'll see you next week for the Braves Clubhouse Board.